Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Swoon-Worthy, a podcast dedicated to period dramas. I'm your host, Carly, and I'm joined today by my sister, Kayla, and our friend who's co-hosted with us before on the Jane Eyre and Anna Karenina podcast episodes. So I'm excited to talk about today's movie, which is a favorite of ours, more of an action movie, more of a war film, The Patriot from 2000. So this podcast has covered similar movies before. I'm thinking of our Troy episode, Kayla, Gladiator, probably not the movies that first come to mind when you think of Swoon-Worthy. But for some reason, for us, they are. And we've watched them countless times. So to get us started talking about The Patriot, I have some starting questions for you both. Maybe we'll start with Anna. What is it about this movie that you consider swoon-worthy? Why do we keep rewatching it and coming back for more?
Well, when I rewatched it recently, I thought the architecture, like the homes, the decor is very swoon-worthy for me. I remember I was just watching it last night. I was like, oh, I just love the style of their home, like everything in it. Let's see.
Heath
And
Ledger.
also, yeah, Heath Ledger. And unfortunately, so is Jason Isaacs in this movie.
Oh yeah, I feel like a lot of this is just going to be about him, right?
Is this going to be a Jason Isaacs
No, he's
fan?
a
He's the
horrible
ultimate
character.
bad boy. The ultimate bad boy. I mean, what more could you want in a villain? He's so
No.
He is the perfect villain. You can give him
Yeah.
that. And he's been in so many villainous roles. So we'll talk about that. Kayla, what do you think? Because we used to watch this. We were very young. And this
I
is
think we
rated
were
R.
yeah, we were too young because I remember we watched it when we were young. I was disturbed after watching it. I couldn't stop thinking about it, like the bloody scenes, like the son's dying,
Yeah.
especially when Heath Ledger was stabbed. Like that really disturbed me because he was staring into the eyes of his killer, and it just really struck a chord with me. But then as I got older, there was some nostalgia there because we had grown up watching it. And then you get older and you're like, oh, these guys are very attractive. And then you're like, oh my gosh,
Okay, so
this
there's a lot.
this killer guy, he's very attractive. He's probably the most attractive. And you're like questioning like morality of like, why am I attracted to him? But it feels right, you know?
There's a lot to dissect here.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot going on. But okay, yeah, we were quite young. And I remember falling asleep at night and re-envisioning these war images, these bloody battle scenes. And I was like, this is probably not good.
Especially that cannonball scene.
Yes, the cannonball scene.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, not to knock 90s parenting, but it was a little.
I think I have a vague memory of me being in the car with mom. We were driving to the bank and I was like, Mom, that movie makes me feel sad. And she was like, Oh, it's okay. Like,
Oh my goodness. But you know what? Maybe our love of history and, I'm trying to think of the good things that have come from watching this movie.
well,
Okay.
they played it in school a lot. Like my history classes in
Really?
middle school, like, if I guess the teacher didn't know what to do, she would just put in the Patriot. But it was everyone's favorite. Like everyone loved that movie.
Yeah. Okay. So we
Mm.
have a lot to talk about. A few details about the movie before we really get into the conversation here. It's a 7.2 on IMDb. Okay. It came out in year 2000, three Oscar nominations, Best Cinematography, Best Music, Original Score by John Williams, and Best Sound. The music is very swoon-worthy in this movie too, if you think about it. It makes you feel things. It's very beautiful and epic and kind of reminds me of Harry Potter a little bit, some of the sequences. I don't know if you heard that at all.
Oh yeah. Halfway through the movie, I was like, God, this scene is very Harry Potter. It's just the music, the way it would build up, and
And
yeah, no, for sure.
Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, we've got our Malfoy coming back to haunt us. No, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. And then yes. And then costume designer Deborah L. Scott, Oscar winner for Titanic. I mean, the costumes are swoon-worthy as
Mm,
well,
yep.
I would say. So like all of the costumes that the women wear, I was really paying attention to them this last time I watched them. And some of them are so beautiful. I mean, my favorite is the wedding dress of Anne Howard, and she's got that ice blue gown. Like that's probably one of my favorites from a period drama.
Yeah, I also love the way Jolie Richardson looks in this movie.
She is so regal, so
Hmm.
stunning. Love her. Now we'll get into the storyline itself, the plot. So, American Revolutionary War, or the American War of Independence from Great Britain, lasted 8 years. And we're starting the movie. The war's already started, but now we're going to South Carolina, the year 1776. We get a voiceover from our star of the movie, Mel Gibson. We hear his voice, which, by the way, is such an iconic voice. Thinking of Pocahontas 1996, which we grew up with, his voice for John Smith, Braveheart. Mel Gibson's kind of part of our, you know, childhood, I guess, too.
Yeah, I'd say him and Harrison Ford, which Harrison Ford was apparently he declined the role as Benjamin Martin. So I just imagine what that would have been if it was Harrison Ford as well.
No,
Interesting.
I don't. Yeah, I think Mel Gibson was perfect.
I think so too. I agree.
Yeah. Funny too, because he's an Aussie, so he's not even, but they often get British and people from the UK to like do these American war movies.
Like Heath Ledger. Yeah.
And then Daniel Day-Lewis playing, oh yeah, Heath Ledger's Australian too. But I was thinking also like Daniel Day-Lewis playing Abraham Lincoln. Sometimes the March sisters from Little Women are British actors too.
Is
So
Daniel
Mhm.
Day-Lewis Australian?
I think he's
No.
British.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Yeah. But yeah, Heath Ledger. Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll talk a lot about Heath. But okay, so the voiceover by Mel Gibson. I have long feared that my sins would return to visit me, and the cost is more than I can bear. So it's setting the tone for some tragic moments here already.
And I like the way he says it. He's like, I've long, like, you know how he says it? It makes me laugh almost. He's like, I've long beard.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit dramatic, maybe. Um,
You can
that's funny
feel
that
the
you,
anguish.
yeah, yeah. Because later we will see the actual scene where he says that, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what he said at the beginning. All right,
And I
but
love how it starts out. Sorry to cut you off.
no, you're
I,
fine.
I love how it starts out and the family's there on their land and they're just happy and it's good to see them happy at least once in the movie. And together.
Just once, even though the poor mother of the seven children has already passed.
But what a
Um,
grave site. Like that's
I
where I
know.
want to be buried. It's so pretty in that by that tree with the little gate.
I
Like
agree.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
and the little North Star symbol on it, which we see the necklace later with the North Star. It's just wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, all the boys are, working in the fields. The younger children are learning, teaching each other, but they're also working. And I have to say, I think all of these children, they got it, they did a good job of making them all look like siblings. And did you know that the youngest boy, William, is Logan Lerman?
I always forget that. Every time I'm looking at the cast, I'm like, oh God, that's Logan Lerman.
He's
I'll
such
have
a
to
little
look it up.
baby. Yeah,
Doesn't even look like him, honestly.
it doesn't. It
Not
doesn't.
recognizable.
No, like Perks of Being a Wallflower, of course.
Oh,
Yeah. And then some of these other actors, we've got Trevor Morgan playing Nathan, Jurassic Park 3,
Yep.
and we have Thomas, played by Gregory Smith, Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
he was my childhood crush.
Oh,
Also, Small Soldiers. That's like my husband's favorite movie.
I've never seen that. I'll have to look it
Really?
up. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, all these, like, we kind of grew up with some of these actors, I would say, Disney Channel. And then you've got, yeah, the little boys spying on Mel Gibson in the barn. Kayla, I know you like this scene.
He's building a chair and he thinks he does a good job, but then he sits in it and it falls and everyone laughs at him.
It's kind of a physical comedy moment, very Mel Gibson humor, right?
Yeah, very ongoing joke throughout the movie.
Yeah, I feel like Mel Gibson just has this way of talking, this way of acting that's so nostalgic now when watching this.
Yeah, I know I told my husband I think what I love about his role in this is just he's so authentic in being a dad. Like you can actually feel it, the kids and when he gets onto them or plays with them, like it's very authentic and I think that's what I love about what he brings to the role.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, so emotional, this whole movie. Benjamin, Mel Gibson's character, very clearly does not want his son, the oldest son, Gabriel, played by Heath Ledger, to go off to war. He does not want him to join the war. You get a sense for, okay, he has a past where he was a soldier or, a war hero, but now he's very pacifist, right? And he is very much against Gabriel going off to war. But then I think this is kind of a common theme in period dramas where like the young boys, they're just ready to fight.
Yeah. I also like the scene in the beginning when the boys are like sitting around by the fire in the living room, and he's like, and you can tell they're just looking at the dad, like, can we look at the mail? And he's like, what was in the mail? And they like jump to the mail because they're like, that's like all the kind of entertainment they get, really, I guess.
Yeah, that's such a dad thing to do,
Yeah.
also, like keep them waiting.
Yes.
I thought that part
Yeah.
was cute.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember we watched that with our parents, and I remember one of them saying, back when kids were obedient or something.
Making
I
it a
can
lesson.
Yeah.
I can hear our parents saying that. Yeah, they kind of had the toy soldiers going on and like sitting by a fire, but other than that, it was pretty boring. So they go to Charleston, an assembly is called, and they call it like Charlestown. But we're talking, Charleston, South Carolina. And we get our first glimpse of Aunt Charlotte, played by Jolie Richardson. Beautiful woman. Oh my goodness.
I know. It makes me think of her sister. I get sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you can tell she loves the kids, and she instantly asks about the youngest girl, Susan. She's still not talking, and they kind of have an exchange. Oh, and there's that part where Benjamin, Mel Gibson's character, gets pushed into her, and you're like, oh, instantly you're kind of like, there's a little tension between them or a little flirtation between them,
Mhm.
which, I think when I was younger, I was like, this is just weird. Like that's
I still think
her.
it's weird.
I still think it's weird too. Maybe back in that time, no, because there
Yeah.
is that connection that she has with the kids and the kids love her and all of that, but it is still weird. It's
I think
like at
today,
some point you kind of found her attractive while you were married. I don't know, right?
well, I
Yeah.
mean, it is convenient because
Yeah.
the siblings, I mean, the kids love her, and
Yeah.
she looks like their mom.
And it's all about proximity, I guess. I mean, she's
Yes.
there, you can't really do the whole online dating like now, but it's
Yes.
just it is weird.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Like, this is a kind of a smaller world that they live in. And it sounds like he doesn't get out much. He's kind of working his fields and raising his kids. So she's kind of the only one. And I'm sure there are qualities about her that she like that reminds him of the wife. But that's the thing. That's the thing where he's later on, she's like, I'm not my sister, that whole scene.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How many
But
years has it been since her sister passed?
well, I'm trying to think of the youngest child. I don't even know.
Maybe it was
Maybe
like two.
five? Oh,
Uh,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like they all look the same. They all look like babies.
They are quite young. But one more, note about Jolie Richardson, she's a period drama queen, really. She's been in Lady Chatterley's Lover. That was a really good miniseries with Sean Bean. The Tudors' final season is Catherine Parr. She played Marie Antoinette in The Affair of the Necklace from 2001. And not really a period drama, but nostalgic favorite, 101 Dalmatians from 1996.
Oh,
Like,
that maybe.
yeah, that's who I picture her as.
Yeah.
Anita, Anita.
Anita, yes. But also this movie. And then we see our first little glimpse of Anne Howard. So this is an actress named Lisa Brenner, and Gabriel tries to talk to her, and she's like, "Okay, you know who I am. Don't play that game. The last time I saw you, you were 11 and you put ink in my tea." So cute. She's pretty. I haven't seen her in anything else.
Mm-mm. No, I looked her up and I didn't recognize anything else that she's been in.
Yeah. But I like that because I just associate her with this character so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get into the politics of this movie. We see the split between the American patriots and the American loyalists, or the loyalists to the crown. And, they do some voting. They stand up and kind of do their little speech. There's this one guy who stands up. The actor's name is Chris Cooper. Mom likes this guy for some reason. Kayla, do you remember that?
Oh yeah, she always says that, and it's like, okay.
She thinks this guy's cute. Senator Burwell, and he's trying to talk about the independence, being one nation. I love the quote by Benjamin Mel Gibson. Uh, why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away or something like that?
Yeah,
That's good. A good point.
good point.
And then they start kind of pressuring him, like, I thought you were a patriot, sir. And, aren't you the person that fought at Fort Wilderness? And
Well, he just feels that they're all not taking this as serious as they should because he's seen the worst of it, and he thinks that they're just all excited about
Yeah.
because young boys like to fight and stuff, but they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
yeah. And he's like, this war will not be fought on some distant frontier. It's going to be in our backyards, which we definitely see come to fruition. And he's like, I will not fight. But then, of course, Gabriel just runs and joins the army. But he kind of gets put in like a protective role, I think, by the Senator Burwell guy, the guy that mom likes, um, so that he won't get killed. I think he's trying to protect him. It transitions to 2 years later, and we get this letter voiceover by Gabriel, I think, speaking to his younger brother Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. And we also see our first glimpse of Tom Wilkinson playing General Cornwallis. This is also an actor we've seen in many period dramas. He's such a great actor. He's kind of underrated, I would say. Tom
Yeah,
Wilkinson.
definitely.
Then we're back on the field, back at the home, and Thomas is 15. He goes and he puts on his father's clothing and has the tomahawk and the guns, and he's just really itching to go to war. But they kind of compromise, he and his father, saying, you can join when you're 17. He's 15 now. He's like, the war's gonna be over by then.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
just
gosh.
not understanding how much you have to give of yourself, which, I mean, unfortunately, Benjamin doesn't speak about that because it's trauma in a sense, but also these kids just do not understand.
Why would you want to go stand in the front line and just get all those things shot at you? The way they used to fight back there was so like silly to me.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
the way they changed the militia seems a lot more smarter.
Hmm. It's true. But you're right though, too, Anna, about like he's not really speaking to him. He's like, they're always asking him, like, what happened at Fort
mhm.
Wilderness? And he won't answer.
Yeah, and there's that one scene just closer to the end where he tells Gabriel that he told the mom, and the look that the mom gave him, which kind of answers all those questions like, oh, she also kind of was shocked and a little bit taken aback of all the things that he did. So that's why he probably doesn't want to tell his kids. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
want it to change his view, like their view of their dad.
That's a
Hmm.
good point. Yeah, he really feels like he's changed as a person, and he wants his kids to look at him with loving eyes and not like horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So the fighting's right in their backyard, like he said. And I love that scene where the Nathan son is like, Lord knows what they'll do with the women. That's so funny. He's a good little actor, good
He
actor.
is.
He was in a lot of stuff back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we see Gabriel, arrive back at home. He's wounded. He's trying to take refuge in their home. And then they end up taking in all the wounded soldiers, I think, to on the porch, and they're trying to mend them and help them. I think it didn't matter which side they were on, they were
Mhm.
trying to help the wounded. And then we have Jason Isaacs riding up Colonel William Tavington. That is an epic scene where he's riding with his
Mhm.
cavalry officers, and he just looks so scary. Oh my
He
He
looks
gosh.
he looks
does.
good.
Yeah, I think the best scene that he looks good, which is unfortunate, a little bit closer to when he fights Gabriel with the long hair down. I'm like, God, he's so evil. I hate this scene, but he looks the best in this scene.
The uniform, like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a red coat. It's the red coat, but it has this dark green, hunter
Green,
green
yeah.
yeah, detailing, and it's just he does look quite attractive, but he's so mean. And I rank him up there with in Outlander.
Oh, what's his name?
Yeah, Jack
Yeah.
Randall, that character
Yes. Yeah.
played by Tobias Menzies or whatever. Like those two for me, and because it's kind of similar time period, are like the most evil villains ever in my
Yeah.
head.
I agree.
Because this is the scene where he's just his cruelty is just right off the bat. You learn about his cruelty. I mean,
Well, at first
he
he's like, well, thank you for taking care of the redcoats, but then he's like, uh, kill everyone or
Yeah. Well, the thing
burned the
about him is,
house.
yeah, the thing about him is he's very sadistic. It's not
Mhm.
even that he's like mean. He just wants to destroy everything. He doesn't, think about mercy or kids or whatever. No, he's sadistic.
I think me and Anna were talking about this when we watched it together not that long ago, and we were like, we need like a prequel, like his life, like what got him here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's so
How is he
true.
so, how did he become this way? Was he born this way?
There's one moment where we get to hear a little bit of his background. Like apparently his father wasted their wealth or something, and so he's having to like climb back up, I guess. Um, and does that make sense? Like he's trying
And he just
to
cares
earn his own
about,
living.
he just cares
But
about money and
Well,
recognition.
it puts him in a desperate situation where he has to build everything up again and makes him to where he has to climb a ladder, climb the ladder and do what it
Hmm.
takes, but
But
still very,
yeah, there's no reason why he should
yeah,
be so mean. So he's like, burn the house and the livestock,
yeah,
kill the rebel wounded. And then when he learned that Gabriel was the spy, or no, he calls Gabriel a spy because of the letter that he was carrying, but it's not the rules of war to do this. And what is it? Was it Gabriel who like was like, Father, he kind of let himself.
yes, yeah,
Yikes.
yeah,
But not his fault. And then would you like a lesson in the rules of war? I mean, he is just so
hmm
mean.
yeah, he's unrelenting. It's just terrible.
And then Thomas tries to save Gabriel, who's being carried away to be hung as a spy, and he
Oh, I
gets
hate this
shot.
part.
He
I
gets
hate that
shot.
part.
It's the
Every
worst.
time I watch it, I'm like, maybe he won't run over there, you know?
Ugh, man. And then, no, but the icing on the cake, he calls him a stupid boy.
I
It's
know.
just,
He's holding his son in his arms and he's just looking down at him from his horse. He's like, stupid little boy.
yeah. Yeah. Benjamin's holding him, and he's just losing it. There's so many scenes where Benjamin is just like crying and just, you know,
But this
ugh.
is this is setting up for probably the most epic scenes out of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Very good point. Well, and um, one more thing. This is just silly, but no, I'm just gonna skip that.
No,
What
no,
you
no.
said.
What was it? What was it?
So when he's yelling like Thomas, I just get a flashback to in Pocahontas where he's yelling for
Oh,
the
yeah.
other
The Christian,
Thomas.
the Christian Bell character.
Yeah, so I'm just hearing his voice say that name, and I'm like thinking of Pocahontas. I don't know,
That's funny.
silly, but anyways,
Millennial problems.
millennial, millennial, yeah. So, oh, and there was that one red coat guy. He looked sorry. Like he did not look like he
Well,
wanted to
most of
do
them are just
anything.
kind of like, is this
Yeah,
what we're doing?
that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. Like the British Army isn't, because I read some reviews about this movie and they're saying that the British Army was viewed as, sadistic like enemies, but I'm like, no, I think it's just that one character. Like that one
Yeah.
character is the one that goes out of the way to do this stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a good representation of the the people in
War.
general in the war because you have those exceptions to the rule that are
Hmm.
just, acting on their own whatever agenda. But oh, that's good. That's interesting. So, and then that house scene in flames, it's like the very blackest smoke I've ever seen. And it's just like tragic because they were so happy there.
And then
And
it
but
pans to each of the kids, and they're just like crying, like, and the some of the redcoats, they're looking at the little boy like crying, and you can tell they're like, "What are we doing? This is terrible."
They're just like, sorry, and they leave.
Yeah.
yeah. And okay, as you said, Kayla, this is setting it up for some really amazing scenes because Mel Gibson or Benjamin Martin, he just starts acting really fast. He's like, he goes in there, he gets the tomahawk, he gets the toy soldiers. He's like, I picture him, his head, in his head, he's saying, I just lost one son and I won't lose another. That's what I was thinking. The music intensifies and he's just very clear and directive. He's very good in this stressful moment. He's like, Margaret, hide in the fields with William and Susan. If I'm not back, go to Aunt Charlotte's. Samuel and Nathan, you're coming with me.
Yeah, we're starting to see like why this is the old him coming out from the old
Yeah.
war.
Yeah. Samuel and Nathan run with him into the woods. I feel like they're trusting their father, but they are probably so freaking confused. They're barely keeping up. And they get to this spot in the woods, and he's like, I'll fire first. I want you two to start with the officers and work your way down. Can you tell the difference? They're like, yes, father. I mean, they're probably just so
Well,
confused.
there's in that same scene, the youngest, I'm guessing Logan Lerman, he's crying while he's aiming. I was like, oh, that's so sad. Like he's just kind of like whimpering a little
I
bit.
know.
And, oh,
Aim small, miss small.
Yeah. And I feel like they were probably trained though for this kind of a thing to happen at some point. Like can picture Benjamin in earlier days like training them how to shoot and act under pressure. So that's why this does work. This plan works. So they start shooting. Oh, and then also, Lord, make me fast and accurate. I like that part. Ben, what?
No, that,
It was just, it sounds very Mel Gibson. I don't know.
yeah.
And Benjamin is just jumping from left to right. They're shooting in between the trees. He's yelling to distract the redcoats. They're just picking them off one by one.
They're confusing the heck out of them. They're like, who is this and where are they? Like, how many are there?
Yeah. And then at some point, he takes the tomahawk and runs at them. He's
That's my
like
favorite
killing.
part.
You like that part? The music is like
It
perfectly
picks up.
timed. Yeah. And he's killing with a knife in one hand, this like hatchet in the other. The little boys are still shooting. And then there's like a pause when there's just a few more left. And one runs away and Benjamin just like kills him. I mean,
And then he
ruthless.
has one that's like holding him, and then the other one shoots, and he like pulls the other guy to get shot or something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's a well choreographed scene.
yes.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. He's so upset. You can just imagine all the emotions. Like he's sad, he's pissed. Um, and then the boys at a certain point they cut to them and they just like they're looking at shock and they're
Yeah, they're
looking
horrified.
in
They've
shock.
never
He's
seen the
covered
side
in
of their
blood.
dad. Yeah.
He just looks like a madman.
Yeah. So
And even Heath
that's
Ledger's character, Gabriel, is just like,
yeah.
whoa.
You're right. He's probably just equally in shock. Yeah. But he's older so he can and
Because
he's seen a lot.
he keeps hatching at the guy and the
Mhm.
blood's just splattering all over him.
Yeah.
And they're just watching their dad do this and they're like, oh, that's why he didn't want to tell us.
Oh my goodness. So then, okay, after this crazy bloody scene, which is so epic, so memorable, Tavington, it cuts to Colonel Tavington, so Jason Isaacs, he's interviewing the one survivor and he's just confused. He's like, 20 of His Majesty's men are dead, and I want to know how. How many men were there? And this guy, is he like Scottish or something?
Mhm.
He's like,
Yeah.
it was mad all around us, amongst us. And he's like, what? He just vanished? He sounds more like a ghost than a man. Yes, a ghost. He was like a ghost. Um,
And they couldn't tell how many there were. They were like, it could have been two, it could have been five. We don't know.
yeah. And he's like, it was probably just one man. And they're like, oh my gosh. Wow.
But
Wow.
after the scene, you know how it shows back to him with the kids and he's saying goodnight to them. And the youngest boy like turns his back, to him because already like they've already changed the way they view their dad. It was kind of like, traumatizing to see him that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The little Sam,
And the
the
other
little,
one's like, I killed men today. And he's like,
Yeah.
and he like, I liked it.
I'm glad I killed them. Oh my gosh.
Glad I killed them.
Yeah. And then Charlotte is trying to like comfort him. You've done nothing for which you should be ashamed. And then he says, I've done nothing, and for that I am ashamed. So I think he's probably full of regret right now. Like, if I had done things differently, maybe they wouldn't have come to my home. Or he's just like, I don't know. Now it's my time to fight. And he's still probably processing the death of Thomas, like one of his seven children. Like, ugh, so sad.
It is
And then Gabriel wants to return to the
Oh
army.
yeah, I just don't understand this part.
I know that kind of makes me mad.
Yeah. Well, just because also like it's not his fault, but him going back to the home endangered his whole family,
Mm.
you know? And then you've got all of this happening, and then he wants to go back. It's like,
I
why?
know. It's like,
I
Yeah.
know. I know. And he's so sh abrupt and he's just like, I'll find you when this is all over. And then I love that when he's like, I'm not a child. And then
you're
Benjamin,
my child. Sorry.
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. So Thomas is dead. How many more have to die before you'll heed my word? It's just so sad. And they're fighting. He just wants to hang on to his children at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
I love this
Let's,
movie. I could talk about it all day.
I know, but you see what I mean? Like, why do we love it? Because it's a it's a bloody, tragic
It's a
movie.
revenge film. Like that's all it, I think that's why Harrison Ford said no to the role because he's like, we're just boiling down the Revolutionary War as a revenge film. But I mean, those stories, it's a very like singular film. Like
It's a
it's what
human,
happened.
it's
It's what happened
human.
to his family. Yeah, exactly.
Like it's
Like,
about, yeah, it's about family and um
Fighting
love.
fighting for what you believe in and your family and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
about
mean,
love and strength.
yeah.
And
that's why movies like John Wick also are very popular because it's a revenge film. It
Hmm.
kind of gives you that, you know,
Ooh,
like, oh,
and Kill Bill.
yeah, exactly.
I love Kill
Yeah.
Bill.
I mean, it gives you someone to hate,
hmm
people to love. Like, because I've noticed I don't really like movies where it's like, who am I rooting for here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Okay, you don't like the ambiguity, like anti-hero kind of thing. I see, I kind of like those movies sometimes, but
yeah,
I
it's
like
not.
anti-heroes too. Yeah.
this is coming from Kayla, who is just oohing
Well,
and eyeing over Jason Isaacs.
Yeah,
well, I
exactly.
would consider him an anti-hero.
Oh my gosh,
No.
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 A little bit?
No,
No,
Draco
no.
Malfoy, yes. Lucius Malfoy, no.
No.
This
No,
is
he's not an anti-hero at all in this film. He's just evil. Good looking, but
I
evil.
can't wait till we get my favorite line of his in the movie. It hasn't happened yet, but
Okay, okay. So in the next scene, Benjamin decides to leave the kids with Aunt Charlotte and go join up with Gabriel and join the effort here. I have to say, I'm sending you guys a picture. This dress that Jolie Richardson wears in the scene is my favorite one that she wears. It's like this dark blue indigo dress with a floral like plant like pattern. It's just so beautiful and memorable to me. Do you agree?
it was pretty.
Yeah, no, again, I just love the way she looks in this movie. And yeah, no, this is a really nice dress. I love it.
Yeah,
She
I mean, this
look
is one of my favorite time periods for fashion, like Marie Antoinette, kind of.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she looks so stunning with no makeup. Like she just looks like she's never
hmm
seen a cell phone. She's very period accurate.
hmm
I mean, her hair, some people probably don't like it when her hair is down, but I feel like when there was a war going on, they probably let loose a little bit more
Yeah.
than very tight up. I mean, she just looks, ugh, I love
I
this
do
dress.
miss this period of movies where, like you just said, it looks like they've never seen a phone. They're all natural. Even the kids, they're acting, everything is so natural. Now I can't say that, you know, about actresses and, you know, actors. It's just is there's no they all look the same, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I've got
it's
their. Oh, I won't go into detail, but
no,
yeah,
it's harder to find actors who look very period accurate and you can just disappear into the time period
hmm
as much. I would agree. I think it's a little easier with British actors than American actors. I mean, I'm thinking about like, Kate Winslet, Emma Thompson, all these actresses who they're getting older and they're not getting work done
No,
and they're so
exactly.
beautiful
Yeah.
and it's just I feel like
they still look like themselves.
hmm
It's like an older version, but they're still not. They're still them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But okay. And Susan still won't talk to her father, poor thing. He leaves anyways. He goes up and joins with Gabriel. And they're watching. This is the scene I think, Anna, we were kind of alluding to earlier. They're watching the battle from kind of far away, but they can still see it going on in the battlefield from this like high up window of some abandoned house. And they're they're zooming in on the front lines. We see a head get knocked off by a cannonball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oddly, that's not even the most graphic scene in this movie.
No, as a kid, it was. I remember thinking, whoa, what did I just see?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to process. It happens so fast, and you're like, what did I just want? Yeah, so they end up going to talk to that Burwell person, and there's a French major who we're introduced to, Jean Villeneuve or something, and he even says to Benjamin Martin, like, the hero of Fort Wilderness, your reputation precedes you. So Benjamin did some crazy shit back then,
Mhm.
and they all know about it. Um, but they kind of decide to form this militia, which is a good idea because that's what I think history has taught us. And when you study the American Revolution, is that this war was won by some crazy, unique tactics and militia and people. The fact that we knew our own land and the Brits were kind of trying to follow the rules of war and follow the protocol and march and stand at attention. Have you heard? Do you remember that from learning about the American Revolution in history?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was loosely based on someone called, was it the Swamp or something like that? I mean, in real life. So, and it was all guerrilla tactics. So,
That's the phrase, guerrilla tactics.
yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, yeah. And so they start to, he and Gabriel, Benjamin and Gabriel, they take off and they're going to form this militia. I have to say, Heath Ledger looks very comfortable on a horse.
Hmm.
I noticed that, and it was making me think of A Knight's Tale,
Yeah.
right? So
I want to
he's
say that he actually came from like a horse farm. That's why even in Brokeback Mountain, he didn't have to go through the whole training of riding a horse because he already had work with like horses in the past. So
that's
that's
so
why he
cool.
looks so comfortable.
That's so cool. I didn't know that, but I just remember in this scene, I was like, he looks the most natural on a horse than like any actor I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Um, yeah, and he can joust on a horse too. Um, okay, so then we see a cut to Cornwallis talking to Tavington, saying like these brutal tactics must stop. These colonials are our brethren, and when this war is over, we must reestablish commerce with them. So this is where you see the dichotomy here between a redcoat who's actually like trying to do the right thing and just have a real, a normal war battle scenes. And I'm not explaining
Like
this
a
well.
more honorable way of fighting.
Yeah.
More
And the
on,
sadism of Tavington, like he is the lone one who's doing all these acts. Like it is not a tactic by the British, army or whatever. It's him.
yeah, his personal agenda.
Yeah.
Um, and then back to just the costuming. So we see Tavington's, the red with the green, and then I noticed too Cornwallis, Tom Wilkinson's character, his uniform is really pretty. Like it's very beautiful, has like dark blue and red and gold accents. And then later on, when he loses his
Yeah, his
uniform,
yeah.
you remember that scene?
And his dogs, right? His two
And his
dogs and all of
dogs,
his, yeah.
his personal effects. But he's like, someone's trying to dress him in like a temporary uniform, and he's just like, oh, get those rags
Oh,
away from me.
he says
Because
a
of
horse blanket.
yeah, a horse blanket.
But then I saw his real uniform that he's wearing before it gets stolen, and it really is beautiful, I have to
Yeah.
say.
Whatever
Very
happens to it? Do they just throw it away or do they use it?
maybe they might
Yeah.
use it with those scarecrow looking
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so we see Gabriel going into a church at some point, trying to call up the militia. This is like a kind of like your classic scene where the woman stands up for stands up for the man. I don't know, it seemed a little cheesy, but at the same time, if you're into the movie at the moment, it's like very moving. She's like talking to her fellow church people. I ask unto you, act upon the belief of which you have so strongly spoken and of which you so strongly believe. Did you find that scene a little cheesy, or am I just being a little
No, I agree. She's a really bad actress in this scene.
I know, but it did the trick. Everyone stands up. The music sounds very like Jurassic Park in this moment, I thought. And they join the militia, and then Gabriel's asking her father, who is deaf, but like, exaggerates being deaf a little
Mhm.
bit more. And he's like, I asked permission to write to Anne. And he's like, oh, write her. Kind of some silly humor.
Is this the part where he goes, "Of course you're a man," when he
Oh,
like
yeah.
twists the
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. I like this guy. Like
Yeah.
he's a good little insert into this, I feel like. Even the Reverend joins the militia, which is kind of cool. The tavern scene, they play that little trick like with the French guy. They're
Mhm.
like, God save King George, and they all attack.
Yeah, because they're questioning what kind of people their alliance were, and he's like, "Well, I guess we'll see."
Yeah, that was a good moment too. But the militia that they get, there's even sort of a faction between the militia. You have the churchmen, so the ones who um want to
They
fight the
want
right
they
way.
want to go by the book, kind of.
Yeah. And then you have the ones, probably the tavern folk, who
Hmm.
are more out for revenge and bloodshed. And then I noticed there was a guy, I was like, that guy looks really familiar. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Is it the redheaded one?
No, there was
Mm.
a guy who he was in Parks and Rec and Jury Duty, the
Oh,
recent,
yes.
you know what I'm
I know
talking
who you're
about?
talking about. He always has like a mustache or something,
Yeah.
dark haired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I looked him up. His name is Kirk Fox.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just funny. I was like, wow, he was in this a long time ago. Anyways. And then there's the former slave. Akram, I think is his name in this story.
Well, I think unfortunately he's still a slave. That's why
Oh,
he's
okay.
signing up because they were going to be freed. They'd be freed and given money, like
Hmm.
a pension. So, yeah,
Gotcha.
and his slave holder is the one that signed him up. That's
Yeah.
why in the tavern, Benjamin tells him to make his mark so he can be willingly joining, not just forced.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, right, that you're very right. So okay, he's still a slave, but he's working towards his freedom, I guess.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even when Akram is able to be free and he could just step away, he still fights with them, and I
Yeah.
think that um that's when the other guy, the white guy, I'm so sorry, I do not know his name in the story. It's like, I'm happy, I'm proud to fight
Yeah.
alongside you. So, that's a little subplot just worth
Wasn't
mentioning.
that wasn't that actor on like Nickelodeon or something?
He was in a lot of like sitcoms. His name is Donald Hugh or something.
Oh.
I don't know about Nickelodeon, but I remember seeing him in some like, those TV show sitcoms, 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I also brought that subplot up too is because there's a scene where they say they call this the new world. It's not, but we'll have a chance to build a world where all men are created equal under God. And, I think that's a very good quote. It even makes me think of what we're going through right now politically, and I'm not going to get into that, but that's what America has always stood for, a place where men are created equal. And yeah, I thought that was a good message, even in this film from year 2000.
Yeah, it's a good reminder.
Good reminder for sure. We have, a scene where we see very much the old world. It almost looks out of place here. The Marie Antoinette-like party held by Cornwallis. His costumes, all the costumes are really stunning in this scene, and there are fireworks, and it just looks out of place, right?
Wait, is this the part where they're not really fireworks and it's like a battle? And
Hmm.
the one
Oh
girl's like,
yeah.
"Oh," she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
fireworks!"
fireworks. And
Oh
her
my
little
gosh.
clap.
I love that part.
You're so right. Even in my head, I was thinking there were fireworks. I would be that old lady, I guess.
Really? No, that's a war.
So she is very out of place. She must think she's still back in the UK or something.
After this is when they set loose Tappington. They're like, okay, go do what you need to do, pretty much.
That's right. Because Cornwallis is upset. He's like, these are farmers
Yeah.
with pitchforks. Why are they
Mm-hmm.
making a difference here and turning the tides of the war? And so, yeah, he lets loose Tamington. That's a good way of putting it. To just be a little more brutal or just keep being brutal.
Yeah, pretty much don't worry about it because that's when he brings up, well, I can't go back to England with honor because all the things he's going to be doing. And that's when they make this agreement that if they win the war, he's going to be given land.
Oh, and so
And I
there's a,
love this scene where he goes, tell me more about
I
Ohio.
was gonna say that's my favorite line from
Yeah,
of him. He's like,
me
"Tell me
too.
about Ohio."
Because it's so random. Ohio?
Yeah,
That almost feels like it should be in a comedy movie. It's so funny.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh. But I guess at the time, Ohio, because we're putting our own
Yeah,
kind of,
now.
yeah. But back then it was just this territory that could be claimed. Oh, that's
I
funny.
like never think of Ohio.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's so random.
No, I think there's like a conspiracy theory or some people think that Ohio doesn't exist or something. Like they've never met anyone from Ohio or something.
That's
What?
so funny.
I think that's
Okay. Well, maybe a shout out to our followers from Ohio. Hit us up on
yeah, let us know if you're from
Instagram.
Yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah, you guys exist.
Maybe.
Kayla. Oh my gosh. All right. So pretty soon we get this really cool scene where Mel Gibson's character, Benjamin, he forms this plan because some of his men are taken, right? Because Tavington is starting to be more brutal, starts to fight like them. He captures some of Benjamin's militiamen, and this is where Benjamin really shines because he's like, I'm going to do this prisoner exchange trick. He goes to see Cornwallis. He plays this part so well where he claims that they need to do a prisoner exchange because they have 12 of each other's men or 19, I can't even remember. And he brings the dogs with him, the Great Danes.
And I love how the dogs already have a loyalty to him. Like what I can't remember what's his name, the not King, but
Cornwallis.
yeah, Cornwallis tries to call them and Benjamin has to tell them to go. Like they
Yeah.
already have a loyalty to Benjamin.
Exactly. And they sit at the table and they're trying to just do this, prisoner exchange. Where would you like to begin? And he's like, I can begin unless you'd like to claim aggrieved status. And then he's like, yes, you have some personal effects which I'd like to have returned to me. But then he's like, I don't remember any prisoners that you have of ours. And then I love how this is so Mel Gibson too, where he's explaining the men that he has. He's like, there's that one fellow prisoner that called me a cheeky fellow.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah. His acting is so good in this. And then they even get out like a telescope like thing and
Yeah.
see, you know, the
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 people, the prisoners that they're
the
holding.
prisoners, I'm saying in quotations exactly.
Mhm.
And then I think it zooms in and they're actually like scarecrows, so
Yeah.
that's kind of funny. But they make this exchange. Everything plays off really well. Of course, we did forget to mention that he does sit before they talk. Benjamin sits in the rocking chair and it
Yes. That's the ongoing joke. And he's like examining the rocking chair, how
Like,
they
oh, this
did
is a
it.
nice chair.
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I love that moment. They're about to make this exchange officially, and Tavington rides up, and there's a slow motion scene where they see each other. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. And he's trying to pinpoint where did I see him? How do I know him? Yeah.
hmm He's like, I remember you, that farm. And he says it again, that stupid little boy.
Because he's trying to rile him up because he
Yeah,
already
he wants
told
the
him.
fight to start
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just itching to fight. But Benjamin is very reserved and in control. And he's like, before this war is over, I'm going to kill you soon, but not now. So he rides off. He gets his men back. He calls for the dogs, which is very cheeky of him. And Jupiter and Mars, I think their names are. And then they end up finding out that they're fake soldiers, these like
Yeah.
scarecrows. Oh yeah, the guy brings it in. He's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "One of our captured officers, my lord." So funny. Like
Mhm.
it's such a serious movie, but there are a lot of comical moments,
Yeah.
like the Ohio, like the rocking chair, and then also when Gabriel stays over with the girl he's courting, Anne Howard,
Yeah, I love
and
that scene. The bundling bags that they have to use.
oh my goodness, just sew him up. He can stay over, but we gotta sew him up. And she, talk about a revenge film, she puts ink in his tea, which is cute.
Yeah.
And then like the next day when they're parting ways and you can tell they're like, they're fully into each other now. They're definitely gonna get engaged and get married. But yeah, there's the ink in the teeth of both of them and they're just smiling giddily and it's just funny.
The dad's just watching, like, what happened?
Yeah, the dads are funny. All right. So Charlotte and the kids, they're they're awoken one night. Tabington and his men are going to capture them, but they're quick. They hide in the kitchen cellar. Nathan, he hides under the dining room table at the moment, um, because he couldn't get down there in time. And this is a very like you're on pins and needles kind of scene where you're afraid that he's going to get caught. And he's sneaky. He's able to elude capture from Tabington. Then they go to this pretty island. That's where they take refuge and they find Abigail, their old nanny slash slave, probably. And Susan talks in this scene, the little girl, and you're like, oh, I think Gabriel's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's like forming sentences. Does it
hmm
ever touch on why? Is it just because she's too young, or was she
I think
traumatized
it's because of the
or
mom dying. It like
dying?
really
Okay.
made her sad and stuff.
And then the sad scenes really start. That one person who had joined the militia finds that his wife, the little redhead boy, and the
Oh
wife,
yeah,
I hate that part.
I hate
I
that part.
know.
So
And
sad.
all because of that one traitor, Captain Wilkins. Because remember, Tavington goes up to him and says, you know them. Give me a list of where they live, their families, all of that. It's like, ugh.
I
You just know
know.
what his tactics are.
Yeah, he's definitely a what is it called? When you're a traitor from this time period? Benedict Arnold.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always associated him with Benedict Arnold because that's the traitor from this
Yeah.
war. And in my head, I think when I was younger, I was like, is that Benedict Arnold?
Well, I think it isn't it kind of like basically portraying him in a fictional way.
Probably loosely based. I mean, a lot of this is loosely based on some
Mm-hmm.
characters. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, some actual people.
Hmm.
Very good point. And then I feel like the TV series, which was also based on a book, Turn, Washington Spies, I feel like they may have looked at this movie and its success and the way it was told in storytelling fashion to make their series. I love that series. I finally watched the whole thing just in the past couple years.
Finally.
I know it took me forever.
What series is this?
Oh, Turn, Washington Spies with Jamie
Oh, okay.
Bell and JJ Field
Oh,
and
JJ
Okay, I
Field.
think I vaguely remember this with Jamie Bell. Yeah.
it's very worth a watch because they have real characters. Like you have your Benedict Arnold, you have your George Washington,
Mhm.
and it's very well done. And you see too, like the guerrilla tactics, like we had to really learn how best to beat the redcoats. Oh, but here's what I was going to say. I also like it because in the end, there were good people on the British side and there were good people on the colonist side. There were bad people on each side too. So I feel like it really plays into that.
Yeah. Huh. I'll have to take a look at that.
Definitely worth a watch. So we mentioned Anne and Gabriel and their courting, and then you find out that they are engaged and they are going to get married. And that's a it's a great way that Gabriel tells Benjamin they're sitting on that island, and he's kind of like, you remember you once said when I have a wife and children, I'd understand.
Hmm.
And then you see the carriage coming up with Anne. It's such a beautiful scene. Love her, like I said, this like ice blue dress. Her hair's tied up, but she has a little flower crown maybe of flowers,
I love
seashell
the music.
necklaces.
The
Huh?
music.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in there right now.
Yes, Kayla's got a beach background right here. Um, and everyone is happy. You know, it is interesting because you see a lot of people of color here, African
Mm-hmm.
Americans, and they're joining in on the festivities. I don't like how they're all standing up in the background of this wedding scene. It feels like it's their island, and
Mm-hmm.
yet all the white people are sitting down in the
They're
pews
all
for the.
taken. Yeah, it's like they took over. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point to bring up because it always made me feel weird too, like
Hmm.
as a kid. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause it is during this messy time period of
Yeah.
like,
I mean, probably historically accurate of what would have happened. And it's such a jovial, beautiful scene because it's a wedding scene, but then I don't know that now when I look back on it, I'm a little irked by that and I wish, you know,
yeah. I
okay.
agree.
Yeah. But regardless, this love scene between them is beautiful. You have Gabriel looking very happy and content with life. Benjamin gives the North Star necklace to his new
Hmm.
daughter-in-law, and this is when Ben sits next to Charlotte and it's like, "Can I sit with you?" Oh, she says it's a free country, or at least it will be. Kayla,
Yeah.
that's really cheesy, right?
Yeah.
A little cheese. Um, and that's where she says, though, I'm not my sister. And he's like, I know that. And then they kiss. And then later at the final scene, did you notice like she's pregnant?
Okay, I was just wondering how long did because yeah, she has a baby, like that she's holding a baby. I
Did I
was like,
not notice that ever?
Yeah. It's very subtle because they're reading a
yeah,
letter at the final scene and she's got her hand on her belly. So I think that they must have
yeah, yeah. Celebrate a little too hard.
Kayla's is like cringing. It's just the things we notice when we're adults, Kayla. We have to talk about this, but we don't really know pick up on when we're younger. Kayla's definitely cringing. Okay.
That kind of just been like, oh, she's the aunt and she'll be like the mother figure, but non-romantically, like I don't know.
Because, they deserve happiness too at this point. They've been through a lot. Okay. All right. So the next day, it's the day after the wedding, or no, they might have had a week furlough, I think, at this point,
Yeah.
actually. So they had a week together on this island, and they're like, I'll see you in Pembroke soon. And she's wearing a beautiful dress. And they depart, but before that, Benjamin tries to hug Susan and say goodbye, and she shrugs him off. Even though we know she can talk, he's really, really trying to get something from her. Very sad. She's so cute. She's a good little actress. And he goes off on horseback with Gabriel, but then she runs after him and she's crying. She's like, Papa,
Oh no.
Hmm. I know.
don't go. I'll say anything. Like, so
So
sad.
there's a scene where Gabriel's holding the youngest, Susan, and it kind of hurt because they both lost their lives with like drug overdoses
Yeah, I
at a
heard
young
that about
age.
her.
And I remember just thinking, oh, like they're holding each other and they're the ones that like we lose, later on. I was like,
Oh,
this hurts a little
yeah,
bit
sad. She
extra.
she didn't make it past 21, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
And
exactly
she
20 or
she was living in her
21.
parents' basement or something. It's really
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, it's really sad.
That is so sad. No, I noticed right after they got married and they said I do, Gabriel picks up Susan. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, also just before that they even end up in the coast. He's like holding her hand and like
Oh,
I was just like it just gave me chills just watching that because I'm like, oh,
oh
that's
my
terrible.
gosh. That is terrible. I mean, Heath is such an amazing actor and it is sad.
Yeah.
Like that one hit really hard because we grew up with him as an actor in so many
Hmm.
movies. I mean, I'm thinking of A Knight's Tale for sure. And then, of course, you know,
10 Things I Hate About You. I
oh my
love
God,
that
yeah, yeah, for
movie.
sure. And then The Dark Knight, he won his Oscar, you know,
Yeah,
after the fact. But just it's just sad that he's still not around. It's
I
sad.
know.
It's tragic. It's very sad. All right. Well, we're getting to some more sad. Let's just let's just get through it. Let's push through it. So we're all like tearing up over here. So the church scene, we have Tavington and his men coming in, locking the poor people up in the church. including the newlywed woman and her parents. And that, it's just terrible. I don't even really want to talk about it. It's devastating. And it's very unlucky that they just returned. I'm almost like, oh, they should have just delayed their travel
Or
Yeah.
by a
turned
day.
around. She
Or
just
why
turned
didn't they
around.
stay? I don't understand why they didn't stay.
Yeah, it is. It's just weird. And then once it's all happening, how come they couldn't get through the windows of the church? And did it just burn so quickly and they had barricaded it a
Probably.
bit? It's
Yeah.
Well,
just
this it's the smoke that kills you first.
Mhm.
You can't breathe. I mean, probably
Yeah.
for the best, honestly.
Yeah.
ugh. Right after this, you know, all of a sudden Gabriel's gone. We see the necklace in the rubble, by the way, which is very sad. But so Benjamin wasn't probably going to act rashly, but Gabriel does. He and some of the others, they try to catch up with Tavington and his men, and they do. And they catch up with them. There's this skirmish. Everyone's fighting, and the Reverend dies. And we think Gabriel gets Tavington, but he
Mhm.
was playing possum. So tragic.
Yeah, this is probably the most disturbing part to me for some
Yeah.
reason.
Is it, yeah. Is it
Because you can almost
because,
feel the pain he's feeling because you just imagine like because he's just hovering with a knife in his gut and he's just like on top of it, you know? That's like what's holding him up and it for some reason that really disturbed me as a
Yeah.
kid.
he just won't die? And yeah, the way he just tricks him and he turns around and it's just terrible. It's so evil.
And the way he looks at him, like just he doesn't care at all, just that pure
hmm
hatred.
The acting is on point though. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Because, yeah. And there's actually in my last podcast with my friend Stephanie, we did biopics and we were talking about how Jason Isaacs, he has done some good parts, some like non-villain roles. He actually played Cary Grant in a miniseries and he did really well.
I saw
Ooh.
that.
Did
It
you?
was
Yeah. Very, I mean, you think he is him. And at the end of it, we're like, he's going to get his award one day, Jason
I hope
Isaacs.
so. Yeah.
And he's in the latest season of The White Lotus. I haven't watched it just
I
yet.
know. I haven't seen it either. I'm gonna have to watch that.
But I feel like it's coming for him. He's going to get his award one day. But in this scene, back to the Patriot. So Benjamin, I'm so glad he makes it there to be with him when Gabriel dies because he's holding him, he's cradling him, just like with Thomas. And Gabriel says, "I'm sorry about Thomas." And the way he says, "Oh, son, that wasn't your fault."
Yeah.
Ugh. I think what you said, Anna, earlier about him playing that dad role so well in this movie really shines at this moment.
Yeah.
Ugh. And it has to hurt even maybe worse because I always felt like he had been fighting alongside Gabriel all this time. He was the oldest son. Like, I mean, I know Thomas hurt him a lot, but this had to hurt really, really bad at this point.
yeah, I mean the first child's the most important.
Well, I think it's also just he just got
Kayla's joking.
married.
I
He
just
just
thought it was
got
funny that
married.
Carly said that because she's the oldest. And she's like, I know Thomas was, that was a hard loss, but I mean, Gabriel's the oldest. This had to hurt.
I didn't mean that.
Well, I'm an older child too, so I wasn't gonna fight that.
Anna's like, yeah, I know the old gotta run.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Kayla, or Anna, what were you gonna say?
Well, it's also just the fact that he just got married. I mean, he lost everything that quickly. Benjamin was able to start a family, enjoy his wife and, have the married life, and he wasn't. So that really hurts.
Yeah, so from such a high to such a low,
Yeah.
and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. That's all you can say. And
Mhm.
right before this too, if you think about it, the father finally opened up to the son and told him about what happened at Fort Wilderness. We kind of forgot that little moment there. They're at the mission. They're waiting on the guys to all join up with them. And he learns the truth. And I don't think Gabriel reacts in a bad way. He's kind of, I mean, they've both been through a lot together at this point,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it was good to finally get that out and to maybe it was felt good in the end for Benjamin to have had that conversation with him before he died. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sad. And then we get the voiceover, the callback to the very opening scene where he's like, "Why do men feel they can justify death?" And then he says, "I have long feared that my sins would return to visit me, and the cost is more than I can bear. And so it's we now really understand why he said that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
He sees the patched up flag that Gabriel was working on, and he takes that flag. He was going to call it quits, I think, but
Yeah.
yeah, that changes his mind. And in heroic fashion, he rides out to his men and to the other men carrying the flag in the air. And I don't know why I never noticed it until now, but they're saying huzzah, huzzah. And now now we use huzzah in such a joking, funny way nowadays that it was like
Yeah.
making me laugh.
What does that mean?
It's like a hooray
Oh.
almost. Yeah. But it's huzzah.
Huzzah. But now I feel like it's used so like in such funny
Yeah.
moments. But this was like a real moment. Like they
You
were
know
saying
what?
huzzah.
I didn't realize that. I watched this movie just last night and I did not notice that they were saying huzzah.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Huzzah. I don't know. He's really arguing to the other, higher up ranking officials, like, you underestimate our militia. We'll get this done, essentially. So they go out. This is like they're preparing for the final battle scene, and he's next to the French guy, Villeneuve or something, and he's like, I love it. Oh, I love it. He's wearing this great uniform. And he's like, if I die, I will die well dressed.
Yeah.
So French, love it. And the British thought they had it in this battle. You see, they're almost like celebrating too early. The militia brought the British men in towards the rest of the Patriot army, and it was a great tactic because then they really have the momentum and they're driving back the redcoats. But there is a part where Benjamin was going towards Tavington. He spots him in the fields and he is trying,
Mm,
he's like thinking this is my moment to kill him. But he sees the Patriots kind of falling back. They're not really, they're about to
pulling
flee.
back, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hold your ranks." And he grabs the flag and he carries it forward. I mean, that scene and
That's
the
a great
scene.
I love
scene.
that
Yeah.
That is,
And
yeah.
Kayla, you sent the gif earlier in our group text of how he's just riding, carrying the flag in the air. I mean, these images of Mel Gibson, it's just,
And the music is so good at that part when he's running up with the flag. Like the music is so epic at that.
Hmm. Yeah.
and then pretty soon after they have their fight, pretty soon after he says, "Hold your ranks," and gets the men to stay into the fight and not retreat. He has his fight with Tavington, and you see him putting the bullet of the toy soldier. So he had melted the
Hmm.
toy soldiers of Thomas and made them bullets, which is so cool and meaningful. And he loads that into the gun, and he gets him in the shoulder, I think, at first.
Yeah. So I think there's an explosion in the back that kind of changes the trajectory of the bullet. But yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it's still very satisfying that that bullet is lodged inside of
Hmm.
him.
Yes.
Just saying. And they kind of fight, and there's that point where Tavington thinks he has Benjamin, and he's like, "It appears you are not the better man." But Benjamin says, "My sons were the better men," and he gets him.
Yeah. Right in the stomach, I think. Just
Very
like,
satisfying.
yeah.
Very satisfying. And then you have to think, wow, I'm really rooting for this murder. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but no, I mean, he's been through a lot. I think this was a bit justified, if any battle scene was. And they win, and everything's happy. There's the British are sounding the retreat. I love it when they're like, sound the retreat, and then that one guy next to Cornwallis is like, sound retreat. He like can't say
Retreat. Yeah.
it.
You're being so cocky in the beginning, so yeah.
Like he's never said it before, so he's like,
Yeah.
But the tides have turned and they take Yorktown. So this wasn't Yorktown, the final battle, but it was like a precursor. And they kind of touch on the Yorktown battle, which Kayla, you and I've been there. We went to Colonial Williamsburg and then we took
wait,
a
was
little,
that the battlefield?
not the one
That's
that
where they,
not the one that we're talking about for this battle scene. After
the
this
one that they
battle,
won?
yeah.
Oh, I guess I was too young to be aware of that at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we went to Yorktown and they have these cannons set up. I'm sure they're not the real cannons. They
They might be. Who knows? They could.
I remember there's a lot of like hills and like kind of like trenches almost. I wonder if those were still left over.
All right. So, the conclusion of the Patriot, we have the French coming and helping and saying, Vive la France, vive la liberté. We have Harry Burwell, the guy played by the guy that our mom likes, who um, has a son, and he's like, we named him Gabriel. And then the
Yeah.
French guy, Gabriel's a good name for a farmer. Like, what is that about? You just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Um, so we have the war ending and we have the rebuilding phase of America. So as one nation, and they start with the home for the Martin family. We get the sense that Benjamin and Aunt Charlotte got married and they're going to keep birthing babies and making this family even bigger. Um,
Mm-mm.
What does that
and
make the siblings then? Like cousins and
We're
siblings?
not gonna get into the messiness on that. They're just a happy family, okay,
let's
Kayla?
just, but I think you're right, Kayla. But and they build the house and it's a happy ending and everyone is friends. Everyone who fought alongside each other are there helping to build. And that's where we end it. Yeah. And I looked it up. I was so, this at the end of this, you're thinking of all the tragic things that happened. Of course, it was for a good cause, the birth of a new nation. Um, but at the same time, I was like, what what happened then with the Civil War? I mean, it wasn't that, it was probably like less than 100 years before the Civil War happened. And it's just so sad that we fought alongside each other this and built this country together and then to
Then
break
we
out in a
fight
civil
against
war.
each other. Yeah.
It's just so sad. I looked it up too. The American Civil War was way more bloody and had more casualties than the American
Mm-mm.
Revolution.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that
Well, and
crazy?
especially because at that time they were, it was all, the slaves that fought would win their freedom after. And then we fight because we're trying to keep, slavery. Yeah, it's just messy how the
Yeah.
timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, did we forget what we fought
Hmm.
for in this war by the time, 100 years passed, less than 100 years passed. So, anyways, but yeah, this movie is very epic. It's very nostalgic for us, having watched it as kids, and it was a good movie to discuss on our podcast. I'm so glad that we covered it and we talked about all the nuances. Definitely, we had to talk about the sad parts, but luckily we were able to talk about the romantic parts and the funny parts as well. That's what makes a good movie, I think, is when it has everything in it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely still holds up. I mean, the acting is great, and I don't think this movie could have been perceived or done well without the actors, because could have definitely been corny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really had a strong cast and it yeah, it still holds up as you said. I remember watching it for the my husband had not seen it and I remember watching it with him and I was so excited for him to see that part, that scene where Benjamin goes out into the woods with the two boys to
Hmm.
get Gabriel back and the way he executes that plan. It's like that's movie magic right there.
Yeah.
We didn't really touch on the fact that Mel Gibson now I just like to think of Mel Gibson in this time period
Yeah.
with these movies that are
Yeah.
so close to our heart. And I almost just don't think of him nowadays. Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't want to. Like, I want to keep him in a little time capsule here.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, this movie just he did a good job of capturing that whole fatherly figure and, I'll keep him in this era. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I
With the voice of
agree.
John Smith, he won the Oscar for Best Director
Yeah,
for
that's a
Braveheart.
great movie. I also saw that one way too young.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. There was that
Yeah.
movie, that rom-com. What Women Want with
What women?
Yeah.
Helena.
One of my favorite movies.
That's so funny. He's such a good actor. Oh, and Mad Max is
Mad
really
Max.
good.
I mean, you just think
That's
about him in Mad Max and oh yeah, no,
Wow, what a breakout role, 1979. So, you
seriously.
know, pre 2000, 2000 and earlier, Mel Gibson.
Just like a lot
Um,
of actors. I mean,
it's
it's,
true. And some
unfortunately.
directors too.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but Heath Ledger, of course, just lives on through his movies and got to give him that. And then Kayla, we'll just bring it back to the Jason Isaacs for a moment. Bring it
Kayla,
back.
have you seen the Peter Pan movie where he plays Hook?
hmm
Okay, yeah. I mean, that right there is a bad guy that I will stand behind, be like, God, he's so good looking.
I mean, in
Yeah.
this movie, he's the guy that you love to hate, you know? And
Yeah,
he's a
I
little
don't
eye candy.
know,
He's
Kayla.
an
It's
eye
a
candy.
he's really evil.
he's
Well,
really
no,
evil,
that's
Kayla.
what I mean. You love to hate him.
Yeah. No, he plays the part so well. Like he could have easily, in my eyes, gotten a Best Supporting Actor
Yeah.
Oscar nomination or something. I give you that. And then we grew up with him in Harry Potter, and he was a little typecast. Like did you ever watch the TV series The Great on Hulu with Elle Fanning?
Yes.
And in the last season, he plays the rude, mean father coming back
Mhm.
as a ghost. He's kind of always
He
been
was definitely
typecast.
typecast, but now, like he was in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Like, it's
Yes.
nice to see him in different roles now.
Yeah.
He still got it.
I'll have to watch the latest season of White Lotus and see what he plays in that.
I can't wait. I need to see
Yeah.
that. Okay, I think Jason Isaacs is a good way to end this episode. So, okay, thank you, Kayla and Anna. This was so much fun to dissect the Patriot with you both. And yeah, hope to cover some more movies with you in future podcast episodes. Thank you for bringing your insights to this.
Thank you for having us.
Always fun.
Awesome. All right, guys. Catch you next time.